Good afternoon, children. Today we go on forward with page 121 as part 4 of the final victory. So here's let's see what we have up here. We continue reading. We begin from page 121 onwards. So up and down the street, kite runners were returning triumphantly, their captured kites held high. So we see here that the kite runners, as we know who the kite runners are, they are the ones who are running after the kites that came down while kite fighting. So they ran triumphantly, means joyously, victoriously, with their captured, that is the kites that they got held high. So they showed them off to their parents, their friends, and they were showing them all to their parents. But they all knew the best was yet to come. But still, they all knew that the best kite or the last kite that would survive is the prized catch, and that has still to come. So the biggest prize of all was still flying, and the biggest prize was, of course, still in the air. So I sliced a bright yellow kite with a coiled white tail. So Amir says that he sliced, that means he cut a bright yellow kite with a coiled white tail that had got a white tail that was curved. It cost me another gash on the index finger. So he says that it cost me, that means because of it, because he tried to cut it down, slash it down, he got a gash, that is a cut, a deep cut on the index finger, that is the pointing finger of his hand. And it's because of the abrasive coating that is given on the string of the the spool, the strings that are on the spool that is loosened and while kite flying. So he got a gash on the index finger, and blood trickled down into my palm. So blood was oozing out or flowing down from into his palm. Palm is the underside of the hand. So I had Hassan hold the string and suck the blood dry. So what did he do? He asked Hassan to hold the string for him, and meanwhile he licked the blood dry, blotted my finger against my jeans. And what did he do? Absorb that, blotted it or touched it onto his jeans so that it's completely disappears. Now we see the prized catch here. They are holding it up on their heads to show it off to their parents in triumphantly. Then let's continue. Within another hour, the number of surviving kites dwindled from maybe 50 to a dozen. So what happened? Within another hour, 1 hour more passed, and then surviving kites, that is the kites, they were lasting long or was still there up in the air, they dwindle, means they decreased or they reduced from maybe 50 to a dozen. Some from a 50 number, they have come to a dozen. So they have become mere 12 in the air. I was one of them. Who is this? Amir. Amir's kite was one of them. Do you remember the kite's color? Amir's kite's color? Now that's your question. So you tell me what was Amir's kite's color. Okay, so that's Amir's kite's description is one of the questions I have given you. So you'll tell me what was the color of Amir's kite. Now we move on. I had made it to the last dozen. So Amir is very happy to tell us that he lasted to he survived, and he made it to the last 12. I knew this part of the tournament would take a while. He knew it because it is going to take some time to finish off or to wind off, because now those of the guys who are playing, it's the answer is given, of course, here, because the guys who had lasted this long were good. Because the children or the people who were still flying the kites were the experts. They were the ones who really knew the techniques how to last long, or they knew the ways to survive. So they wouldn't easily fall into simple traps like the old lift and dive, Hassan's favorite trick. So he tells us that they wouldn't go down very easily. Why? Because simple traps are not good to hold them. Nobody can just slice them down by simple traps. So they had to be, in order to bring them down, new techniques and new methods had to be applied. And so he says the lift and dive, that was Hassan's trick. So Hassan, what was the trick Hassan used? Lift and dive. So what is this? Lifting up the kite with the air. When the air came, or when there was a rush of wind, he would lift up his kite along with it, and then dive, sometimes come down again. So this would he'll give a dodge to the kite that is nearing him in order to survive. So this was Hassan's favorite trick. And then he says, we'll move on to, you can see here how they are using the spool, holding it in their hands, and how they are using. So by 3 o'clock that afternoon, tufts of clouds had drifted in, and the sun had slipped behind him. So he says by 3 o'clock that afternoon, tufts, that is a bunch of clouds, had drifted in, had floated in, and the sun had slipped behind them. So the sun went behind the clouds. So that means the light wasn't sufficient, and shadows had appeared, and shadows started to lengthen. The spectators on the roofs bundled up in scarves and thick coats. So all the spectators who were watching these kite flying and enjoying the scene, applauding, clapping, singing, listening to music and all that. So they were now bundling up. That is, they were using scarves now. Because maybe it's getting colder, so they are using thick coats also. So we were down to a half dozen, and I was still flying. And he reminds us that there were only 12, and he was one of the survivors. So my legs ached and my neck was stiff. Amir says that his legs were aching. Why? Right from the morning he's there flying kites. So it was a holiday, and he was right from the morning he's standing out in the open and flying kites. So naturally his legs are aching and his neck was stiff. Why stiff? Because he's looking at a particular direction all the time, looking up high above. So his necks are also aching and has become stiff. But with each defeated kite, but each time a kite is defeated, a kite is sliced down by him, hope grew in my heart. So there is this hope. What hope? Hope of winning. So like snow collecting on a wall. Again, you have a simile here, like, the word like. So like, the comparison is his hopes are like the snow collecting on a wall, one by one, flake by flake, one flake at a time. So it's collecting, it's coming down from above, and it's collecting over the walls. So this is what he is trying to tell us. You can see the picture where you have the people all got onto the rooftops, and here's the 12 that survived, and the clouds coming up, the picture. So you can get the idea of what's happening. Now there's the blue kite that is surviving, and it's still there among the clouds. So let's look at the next line. My eyes kept returning to a blue kite. You saw the blue kite that had been wreaking havoc for the last minutes. And how many has he cut? So he's asking Hassan. His eyes was on the blue kite that had been wreaking havoc. Wrecking means creating or causing. Havoc means damage. So creating damage for the last couple of hours. And how many has he cut? So Amir is asking Hassan. Hassan said, I counted 11. So he has only counted 11. That blue kite has sliced down around 11. So it's an expert flyer who's flying the blue kite. Do you know whose it might be? Amir is asking Hassan. Hassan clucked his tongue and tipped his chin because he didn't know. So he clucked his tongue. Clucked means he made a noise with his tongue, and tipped his chin, and gave a tip to his chin. And that was a trademark Hassan gesture. So this was a exclusive. Trademark means an exclusive gesture of Hassan. So this only Hassan would do, and this was understood. It's a well known, or it's a known gesture made by Hassan, which Amir would understand, which meant he had no idea. So Hassan showed that he had no idea whose kite it was. The blue kite sliced a big purple one and swept twice in big loops. So what did the blue kite did? It went and sliced, cut off a big purple kite, and then swept twice in big loops. It made big rounds. And then why? Because after cutting it has to turn, because it doesn't want to get entangled with any other kite. So it goes, makes a loop, and then 10 minutes later it cut another two, and just 10 minutes after, he sliced down two others. So how many down? Three down. Out of 12, three down, nine remaining. Sending hordes of kite runners racing after them. So all the kite runners started racing after them. You can see a young kite runner holds his trophies. He's sitting and holding all that. How many? One, two, three, four. Probably he has got 4 or 5 kites in his hands. So he's holding and showing it. Now, the last part of the page. After another 30 minutes, only 4 kites remain. So half an hour later, there was only 4 kites that remained, and I was still flying. So Amir says he was still flying, and it seemed I could hardly make a wrong move. So he knew he shouldn't be making a wrong move. A wrong move will cost him dearly. So as if every gust of wind blew in my favor. So he felt that each gust or each wave of the wind, each current of the wind blew in his favor. It was only for him. I had never felt so in command. So Amir felt as if he was really in command. He felt very good. So very lucky. So lucky. It felt intoxicating. Intoxicating is actually thrilling, exciting, exhilarating. So I didn't look up to the roof. Now he's no more looking up to the roof. Who was on the roof? Baba. Why doesn't want to look up at the to the roof? Because if he looks up right now, what could happen? The kites would, some of the 4 out of the 4, the 3 other kites can come and slice his kite down. So he has to be very, very concentrating and very, very alert. So didn't dare take my eyes off the sky. He didn't dare to do that. I had to concentrate, play it smart. So he knew he had to concentrate. He had to play it very, very smartly. Another 15 minutes, and what had seemed like a laughable dream that morning had suddenly become a reality. So he says that after another 15 minutes, it was just me and the other guy. There were just now 2 remaining. He and the blue kite. So 2 kites remaining. What was the color of Amir's kite? You didn't tell me. So keep it ready. I'll ask you. The blue kite and Amir's the kite. What color was it? I don't know. You'll have to tell me. So the tension in the air was as taut as the glass string, and I was tugging with my bloodied hands. So the tension was there. A lot of tension was there. What is the tension all about? The kite flying. And it's now the last part of the winning streaks. And the tension is up in the air and was as taut, tensed. So the moments were very tense, tightened as the glass string I was tugging with. So as tight as the glass string, the string was coated with glass abrasive and glue, so that it becomes very, very sharp with my bloodied hands. So his hands were all bloodied. You can see it in the next picture. So his hands bloodied. How it happened, and how his hands, the blue kite that was remaining, you can see the blue kite still flying, it's there, and last of all his hands bloodied. So he got the index finger, this is the index finger, he got a gash on it, you can see that, and his hands were bloodied, it's all, and he has used a bandage his finger several times in order to keep it all right. So this was the story, and thank you. We have come to the end of it. Thanks a lot.